All right, well, happy Mother's Day. Anybody out there? Yeah. Some of our mothers had to do some stuff, I guess, and so I guess the mothers that we do have here have some things to do. So our mothers today are kind of out, but it's okay. Like Amy, I think Gloria might be on the way. If you ever see them, just text them Happy Mother's Day. My wife is here though. You can wish her the best mother. But it's good having one here. I'm sure that many of you might have a lot of things that you need to do for Mother's Day, or maybe you, like me, don't like the crowd, so you might have already celebrated Mother's Day, because we celebrated on Wednesday, way ahead. That's how you do it, right? So you don't have to be in the crowd. But yeah, today is Mother's Day, so I figured we just kind of talk about something that relates to mothers, some things that we could do towards our mothers. I know last year, I can't believe it's been already about a year, and I was just looking over some notes, and last year I kind of talked about, as a woman, as a godly woman, how should you be? Well, today I'm going to talk to you, since all of us do have mothers. I think that's one thing we do have in common. We all have mothers. But maybe your mother might have passed away, and maybe it's in heaven. Maybe some of you might have stepmothers. Maybe some of you have a mother, but not really is involved in your life. But then maybe some of you do have mothers who are caring and loving and very godly. Wherever your mother is, wherever who your mother is, or what kind of relationship your mother is, it is still a commandment in the Bible to honor your mother. It's pretty interesting to note that honor your father and mother is one of the 10 commandments in the Bible. Nowhere in the Bible do you see where your mother needs to be a certain type, right? The Bible just says that a mother is a mother. She is your mother, which means all of us will have different types of mothers. All of us will have a different personality of a mother. But in the end, as a believer, no matter what situation you have with your mother, no matter what kind of relationship you have with your mother, we still, as a believer, need to honor them. Honor them. And I think that's one of the things that when you read Ephesians chapter 6, it says, "Children, obey your parents, honor your father and mother." Now, I kind of look at it as two parts. I think that basically that verse is telling us two things. First, it says, "Children, obey your parents," meaning as a child, you have to obey your parents. But it says right after, "Honor your father and mother." Now, that speaks to me that when you get older, it's not necessarily you have to obey your parents, right, or listen to what they say. You just have to honor them, though, because the Bible is clear that when you get married, too, you're to separate from yourself from your father and mother. You're supposed to cleave to your wife. So I think that as we get older, when we get older, I don't think it's a sin to not to listen to your parents, but it is a sin if we don't honor them and respect them and take care of them. I just wanted to kind of give you what the Bible says. And the reason why I say this, because I think it's very important. The reason why it's important is because anything that you see that Jesus says, it's going to be very important. And it's going to be that much more important when it's Jesus' last few words on earth. You see, Jesus said 7 things while he was on that cross. There were 7 words that he said while he was dying on that cross. In 3 hours, there are 7 things that he said. The first thing that he said was, I think we all know. He says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" All right, that's one of the words that he said. My God, why have you forsaken me?" The second thing he says is, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." All right, even while he's on that cross, he's saying, "Father, forgive them." I mean, anybody of us, if we got wrongly accused, we're so quick to defend, we're so quick to judge, we're so quick to say. And that's one of the things that, as a male, that we tend to do a lot. Such a thing. So, like, yesterday, I was over at my aunt's house. Some of you know my cousin Judy, and we went over to her house, and we had this like a pre-Mother's Day dinner as well, and all of our family was there. And my aunt was saying, like, June, some of you guys know June. He's getting older, and he's getting very defensive. And my aunt was like, oh, why does he always defend? Like, I woke up this morning, I told him to get ready. And when I was about to walk out the door, he was still not ready. And she said that I will yell at him, Corbin, get ready. And then my aunt said, then you know what he said to me? He looked at me and said, Mom, why are you yelling? And she said that just because of him saying that, she got even more angry. Right? She's like, what do you mean? And he said, June would say something like, but Mom, this is not a yelling time. This is time for just to talk. And she got more angry because, and this it's kind of funny because I think as a male we get very defensive. We get very, we just kind of like, we want to make sure that, we're not getting accused. I don't know, But even while on the cross, Jesus said, forgive them. Father, forgive them. Man, those are powerful words. Jesus got wrongly accused. He got nailed on there. He didn't have to deserve that, but he did. And yet he still says, Father, forgive them. The third thing that Jesus said on that cross was, he says, I tell you the truth, today you will be with me in paradise. And then we know that story where there are two thieves. And let me remind you that when people were crucified, they were not just little thieves that they stole little candy. Okay, no, you don't just steal candy and get crucified. No, you have to have done something really bad, murder or something. There was two thieves that were murdered and really bad thieves that were next to Jesus. And on the last day, Jesus looked at one of the thieves and said, today you will be with me in paradise. That's the third thing he said. The fourth thing he says is, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. He goes to the Lord and says, Lord, I commit my spirit to you. Another thing that he says is, I am thirsty. I am thirsty. And the last thing that we learned, some of us that went to Passion, the Telestai, right? The thing he said was, it is finished. Well, the last thing that he said that while he was on that cross. And all of these things that I just said are very important. All of these things that he said mean something. All of those things that he said meant some kind of character that shows who Christ was and what Christ provided. So when he says something, it should speak to us that, okay, this is what we need to do. Or this is what we can learn from Christ. And the thing that he says there, it comes out in John chapter 19, verses 26 to 27. John chapter 19, verse 26 to 27. This is one of those words that he spoke while he was on the cross. And that is John chapter 19, verse 26 to 27. It says, when Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, Woman, behold your son. Then he said to the disciple, Behold your mother. And from that hour that disciple took her to his home. So we know that the story that Mary was at the foot of the cross of Jesus. And who's that loving disciple was next to her? It was John. Right? And he's not even Jesus' brother. He's not even relatives of Jesus. It was just one of the disciples. And he's nailing on that cross. And he looks at his disciple, or he looks at his mother. And he looked at his mother and said, Mother, here is your son. And he says to John, listen, here is your mother. Take care of her. While Jesus was dying, he wanted to make sure that his mother was taken care of. He wanted to make sure that his mother was taken care of in the last moments of his death. There's 7 things, and this is one of those important things that Jesus said while on that cross. So he speaks volumes. He speaks of numerous importance for us who might still have our mothers here on earth. And it doesn't matter what kind of relationship that we have done, but as a believer, we are to honor our mothers and we are to make sure that they are taken care of. And how can we do that? What are some ways that we can do that to our mothers? And it could be a stepmother, it could be, a mother, those that, that maybe have, I know that's very, this is very, sometimes it's a very sensitive issue because, we all might not have a good relationship with our mothers. But God is speaking to you too. Maybe right now He's convicting you. As we get older, as we get wiser, it's very important for us to reach out and make sure that we can at least tell our mothers how much they meant to us, even though they did wrong to us. You see, when I look at my history of my mother, I'm the only child. And you guys know my testimony. My mom couldn't have children after me. No matter how many times she tried, she could not have another child. I was the only child. So you could technically say that I grew up a mama's boy. And I'm proud of it. I'm a mama's boy. The reason why I'm a mama's boy is because my dad was never around. And every time I played basketball, my mom was always out there. She couldn't shoot worth anything. You know, but she made an effort to try to shoot. And then, you know, growing up, she would play catch with me and play ball with me and do all these different things that, you know, normally our father should do, but my mother did instead. So I grew up a mama's boy. And you know what the crazy thing is that when I got into high school and when I started to live in sin, when I started to hang out with the wrong friends, for some reason I began to despise my mother. I began to get arguments with my mother. And you know, if you ever went to Korea, like, and you went to my bedroom, I would have a lot of holes in the wall sometimes, and my bedpost would be broken because I didn't want to hit my mother, and I would just break things in my room and tear things up because she, it's just one of those things where I just felt like she did not understand me. She didn't understand who I was, and it was just constantly nagging, and it just got me more and more frustrated with her. And, you know, so from that point on, and you know, I went to college, and then I got married, and then as I'm getting older, as I'm getting wiser, and you know that my mother lives with me. All right, she lives with me. Now, here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. When I was in high school, I despised my mother. All right, and then God had a funny way of, okay, you know, if you don't want to live righteously, I'm going to make you live with your mother for the rest of your life. so now I'm taking care of my mother, and she lives with me. And I tell you what, even at the age of 41, it's a far lot lesser than what I used to be. But when I look at it, she's the only one that can push my buttons in the wrong way. I try to be patient and nice, and then every once in a while she'll say things, I'll be like, huh. I'm a pastor. I'm not a son, I'm a pastor. There's some reason that, you know, anybody can say anything to me, but there's something about my mother that could push that button. I'm just like, you know, like, and even if it's something small, we just tend to argue a lot, you know, like, and one of those things is like, you know, one of the, like, I'm sure like all mothers is that, you know, she knows who I am fully. And that's why she can pinpoint those things and she'll draw that out. I'm like, and I know she's right, but it makes me angry because she's right. You know what I'm saying? But and I kind of found myself as I was preparing this, you know, it kind of brought tears to my eyes and kind of made me to kind of reflect and kind of, you know, look back and say, man, here I am, even though I lived with my mother now for so many years, that so many of these things that I don't do myself. It kind of just been a real conviction in my heart when I was doing this, and hopefully that, you know, it's something that will speak to you as well. I'm sorry, I'm just tearing up. But see, that one of the things that you could do for your mother is to tell them verbally tell your mother how much you love her. When was the last time you told your mother that you loved her, other than Mother's Day? You know, other than Mother's Day, when was the last time you told your mother how much you loved her? You know, the funny thing is, I haven't said to my mother I loved her in a while, and that's why it's kind of hard, difficult right now. It's because, you know, like deep inside, I know I love my mother, and I know that, you know, that she's done a lot of things for me. But woman needs to hear that words, "I love you." You know, my wife needs to hear that I love her. My kids needs to hear that I love them. It's like in this world, in this society, it's like very difficult for men to say, "I love you." You know, when people say "I love you," we tend to say "likewise," or if you were back in the '80s, you would say "ditto," or you would say "me too," or you would say, "Yeah," you know, you will have some type of phrase that will kind of substitute for the words "I love you." You know, somehow we grow into this thing where society is that when you have a boyfriend and girlfriend, and you honestly say "I love you," you're like, "Oh man, you're whipped," or "How can you say you love her?" You know, love is a dangerous word. You know, I mean, you know, how can we say that? And we're getting away from, you know, learning to really deep in your heart. If you really deeply love someone, there's no shame in telling someone in their face how much you love them. And then your mom needs to hear that periodically. Your mother needs to hear that periodically, even if she's like 1,000 miles away. Even maybe you haven't saw her for a while. Maybe she's not been with you for a while. You can still just email her, text her, call her up, say, hey, I just want to say I love you, and just keep it as that, because they need to hear that. And we as men need to be more responsible and say, hey, and say with our words, I love you. That's a big challenge for us to say that, because like I said a couple of weeks ago in my testimony, my father passed away, and I never said I loved him, and it really, really bothered me. And it's so hard when they go and you don't get to say that. So while you have that chance, say to your mother how much you love her. There's a little story here. I don't know if you've ever read this article, but there's an article, but it's called Dear Abby. Have you ever heard of it, Dear Abby? This is an article. It says, I enlisted shortly after Pearl Harbor. 36 days later, I was on my way to the Philippines. Interesting. En route, the Philippines fell to the Japanese, and we were routed to Australia. 11 days after we landed, I met the most beautiful girl in the world. On our first date, I told her I was going to marry her. I did, 18 months later, while on a 10-day R&R leave from New Guinea. After more than 57 years of marriage and 2 children, my beloved Mary died 5 days before Christmas. Although we agreed that our ashes were to be scattered over the mountains, I found out I could not part with her. While Mary was alive, she would frequently say to me, you don't know how much I love you. And I would reply, likewise, I never said I love you. Now her ashes are on my dresser, where I tell her several times a day how much I love her, but it's too late. Although I wrote poetry to her, I could not bring myself to say 3 words I knew she wanted the most to hear. As my dearest was dying and we thought she was comatose, I told her, there aren't enough words to tell you how much I love you. A few hours later, she whispered, not enough words, and died. The reason why I'm writing is to urge men to express their feelings while their loved ones are still alive. I don't know why, but many men are reluctant to express the depth of their feelings. Signed, Missing Mary in Colorado. So I think it's very vital for men, for us to say how much we love our loved ones. And I'm telling you, some of you might say, oh yeah, but if you really dig deep into that, I think it's so hard to say I love you. Because I think we don't hear I love you when we were growing up. We didn't get that enough. And that's why that shouldn't be an excuse though. Now, I didn't hear I love you from my dad at all. But that didn't stop me from saying I love you to my kids and my wife. This morning I looked at my wife, I said, you have a problem. She's like, what? I said, yeah, you have a big problem. I said, what do you mean? I said, your problem is that every time you wake up, you still look beautiful. and she's like, she's like, oh, and I said, I love you. She said, I love you too. Yeah, anyway, so. But then this might be a little too much. This may be a little bit too TMI, but I kind of gave her a kiss, and she's like, "Oh, this feels so good." I don't know if you noticed, but I cut my mustache. I cut my upper mustache because it's Mother's Day, and so I can kiss her with some smooth lips. Anyways, anyways. But anyways, love them verbally. The second thing is love your mothers physically. All right. Another thing. When was the last time you gave her a big hug? When was the last time you gave her a nice back massage, or a little kiss on the cheek, or something that that involves touching? The funny thing is that the first person that ever touched you when you were born, other than the doctors, was your mother. She was the one who cuddled you. She's the one who stroked your head. She's the one who rubbed your feet. She's the one who held your little cheeks against hers. She's the one that would lick her whole hand to get your hair straight, or maybe get the eye boogers off your eyes. I don't know if you remember when I was a little kid, that's what my mom used to do when I wake up, and my mom would always scold me. And open my eyes, and I'm like, stop. And when you were a little kid, who was the one that you would look up to when you needed some help? It was your mother. Your mother who's there. Your mother needs a physical touch from you. She needs someone that you grab her hand, and just say, Mom, with that affection of love, and you say, just say, Mom, I love you. Just squeeze her hand and let her know. Give her a big hug. She deserves it. She needs that. It's more than just buying something for her. It's more than just buying a flower for her. It's more than just buying a dinner for her. And some of you probably already did that. Some of you will do that. But in the midst of that dinner, in the midst of that thing, afterwards, just come over and just give your mom a big bear hug and say, I love you. Love her patiently. Gotta love her patiently. As I mentioned before, there's nothing more than, there's no one in this place that can push my buttons like my mother. And I need to be patient with her. I need to say, okay, what? Even though she's, trying to say all these different things, I know it's meant for good. I need to be really patient and really just kind of respectful to my mother. One of the things that I realized is that when I was looking back at my life is I will always be so kind and always so considerate, always so patient, and always so friendly to my friends. But I wasn't like that to my mother. I was the opposite to my mother. Your mother is more than your friend. Your mom is more important than your friends. Your mother is the one who bore you, the one who took care of you. And I know through certain circumstances and some tough times and maybe some issues, maybe there was some reason why your mother might not be there right now. But there was a time in her life where you were everything to her. I can almost guarantee that every mother who bore a child has that feeling. And I know through their sinfulness and through some of their tough times, things didn't might go the way you wanted, maybe in a mother. But that, like I said, shouldn't stop you from not reaching out or continue to reach out. Continue to say to your mother that you love them. Love them patiently. Love them gratefully, meaning thank them. And there was an elementary science class who was studying magnets and how metals attract the different objects. At the end of the semester, the teacher gave him an exam and said, write me the 6th letter that starts with M. 90% of them put down mother. The answer was supposed to be magnet, but they put down mother. Mothers do attract. Mothers do seem like they're magnets. Be thankful for them. Tell them that you love them. Give them a big hug. Love them patiently. But most importantly, tell them that you're thankful for them. And as I mentioned right here, love them honorably. Exodus 12:12 says, honor thy father and mother, that those days may be long upon this land which the Lord has given you. As important as Jesus said it, and he said it right there, telling John to take care of his mother, God knew that it was very important for us to honor our mother, because let me tell you, in the 10 Commandments, honoring your father and mother, honoring your mother, is the only commandment that's in the 10 Commandments that has a promise. That when you honor your father and mother, you will live long in this life. Your promise is that you'll be blessed with long life in this world if you honor your mother and father. There's this little poem, and it says, when God created mothers, there's a poem called When God Created Mothers. It says, when the good Lord created mothers, he was into his 6th day of overtime, when an angel appeared to him and said, you're doing a lot of fiddling around this one. The Lord replied, have you seen the specs on this order? She has to be completely washable, but not plastic. Have 180 movable parts, all replaceable. She needs to run on black coffee and leftovers. She needs to have a lap that disappears when she stands up, a kiss that can cure anything from a broken leg to a disappointing love affair, and needs 6 pair of hands. The angel shook her head slowly and said, 6 pair of hands? No way. It's not the hands that are causing me problems, said the Lord. It's the 3 pair of eyes that mothers need to have. Let me tell you, one parent that sees through closed doors when she asks, what are your kids doing in there? When she already knows. Another in the back of her head that sees what she shouldn't, but what she needs to know. And of course, the ones in the front that looks at a child when he goes up and say, I understand you and I love you. Without so much as uttering a word, I'm so close to creating something close to myself. Not only can she think, she can reason and compromise. Finally, the angel bent over and ran her finger across the cheek of the mother. There's a leak, the angel pronounced. I told you that you were not, the angel said, I told you that you were trying to put too much into this model. That's not a leak, said the Lord. It's a tear. What's it for? Asked the angel. The Lord replied, it's for joy, sadness, disappointment, pain, loneliness, and pride. You're a genius, shouted the angel. With a somber look on his face, the Lord said, I didn't put it there. You honor your mothers. Respect your mothers. Tell them how much you love them. This is not just more for you, but it's also for me because, it's been a while since my mom lives with me. And she lives like right next door. I mean, her bed's right there. And I haven't really honestly said that I love my mother more. I should tell my mother how much I love her more. And you know what? The thing is that when you have kids on your own, the way you treat your mother is the way your kids are going to end up treating them. And if you're showing disrespect and you're not doing that to your mothers, the kids are going to grow up doing the same thing. And I think that's not what the Bible wants. This is not what Jesus wanted. Because Jesus evidently said while on that cross, he says, take care of my mother. He made sure that before he left this earth, that his earthly mom was taken care of. So some of you, maybe it's been a while since you've taken care of your mother. Well, this Mother's Day, wherever she's somewhere half across around the world, or maybe she lives next door, down the road, tell them how much you love them. Text them, email them. If you have a chance, go see them. Physically hug them. Tell them that you're thankful for them. And tell them that you love them with all your heart. And forgive them. Forgive them because they're sinners. And they make mistakes like you and me. And if God can forgive you, you should forgive them. And I tell you, if you're able to do that, there's a lot of healing that will take place. So love your mom. Love your fathers. Father's Day is in June, so we'll talk about that later. That's my favorite. That's funny because last year Father's Day, this morning we're eating breakfast. My kids made eggs and stuff for Mom. They woke up early and made eggs and for Sister Hannah. And I remember I was cutting the grass. I hate cutting grass, but my grass was getting too long, and I decided to go out there early in the morning and cut grass. And I was cutting, and then I came up walking up the stairs, and my kids were making eggs, and they didn't know I was there. And then I heard my wife say, "Where's Dad's eggs?" And they're like, "Oh, I forgot." But then they made it. They made the eggs. But we're all talking, and I think, who was it? I think Tadil said, "Man, we always do one thing for Mom. How come last year we did like the whole week for Dads?" And I said, "That's the whole purpose. When fathers, you need to honor the father as the spiritual head. You need to make a couple days." So I'm looking forward to Father's Day because we're talking about Monday. But anyways, that's in June. But yeah, I mean, this like I said, this Mother's Day, take time to honor your mother. And if you are a mother to be, I don't think we have some mothers here. Be a good, godly mother, and raise your children right. So let's take time to pray.